Most investors don't realize they're losing money until it's too late. They think they're making thousands, spending more than the cash flow coming in, properties being empty for months, and finance costs costing thousands more than they expected. I've run my numbers and it's all good. I hear that all the time with investors. I've done the maths. Rent is $1,200, mortgage is $800, so I'm making $400 profit per month, really. The reality is they're missing key costs that can shrink that profit to nearly nothing. So let me show the hidden costs that they forget about. First of all, maintenance and repairs. So this really depends on if you're doing a refurbishment or not and what things are already going wrong. But sometimes you need to factor in maintenance, sometimes you don't, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. But things like boiler breaks, roof leaks, it's always more expensive than you think. You've got emergency call-outs, for example. Now, this is nothing to panic about, but you do want to factor it in that if there is a boiler every 5 years, it wouldn't be a boiler every 5 years, but if something goes wrong every few years, are you factoring it in? One of the big mistakes is people just spend all of their money, and they don't think about these things. Void periods is another one. If your property is empty for a month or two, that's an entire month or two lost rent. That's your revenue, not your profit just costing, so it's huge. Management fees. This is interesting. We've got a management agency, and I once had somebody going, I'm just going to manage my own property. Well, that's even worse. Bear in mind, management companies, they charge next to nothing. And the reason why they can charge next to nothing is because they've got huge economies of scale. And I'll be honest, we manage around 300 properties, and we still make zero profit in that letting agency. We make 0 point fuck all, as I like to say. And that's from charging around 10%. Most agencies charge between 10 and 15% of the rent. It's nothing, and it saves you a hell of a lot of time and hassle. But most people forget to factor it in. Interest rates. A lot of people don't actually look at what interest rates are, and you need to stress test these. For example, people bought a load of property, including myself, at 2% mortgages, and now they're 5.25% mortgages. If you haven't thought about what it goes to, which, you really want to look at 6% and go, is it still net positive cash flow? And if it's not, maybe you need to rethink, okay, and make sure that it factors that in. By the way, you're not going to pay that, but I just want to make sure that if it does go to 6%, which is unlikely over the next 4 or 5 years, to be honest, but if it does, I want to make sure that I'm at least paying those bills. What about compliance costs? EPCs, for example. Licensing fees, legal updates, and required by law can cost thousands. Now, you need to make sure that everything about this is factored in. If you're not factoring it all in before you buy in, you're not really investing, are you? You're gambling. And even worse, you think you're not gambling, which is really pretty bloody terrible. And finally, this is the biggest one, getting bullshit deals. And this is either from themselves or sources, where we work with investors and we build portfolios. And we've had it before, being open with you, where people have gone, oh, Dave, fictitious person, down the road brought us a better deal than you. And I'm like, that's amazing. And they went, yeah, they've got me at 10 grand below the market value. And I'm like, in that area, really? And I was like, below market value in a shit area, fair enough. But in that area, yeah. All right, send me the details. And then I have to go through this awkward stage of going, they've overvalued it by about 15,000. And then you've got a £10,000 discount. Therefore, you're paying £5,000 more. And often people get it wrong themselves as well, where they overhype the valuations. And it's kind of like, well, that's just absolutely not real. So you want to make sure you're getting your numbers correct from the first time, not giving hope value, getting realistic valuations. So let's say deal A, all right, ignoring the hidden costs. Let's ignore it. Looks great on paper. £400 a month profit, right? That's really, really cool. So if we've got this one property, let's say it's getting £800 a month, and someone comes to me and went, yeah, I'm getting £800 a month, so my mortgage is £400, and I'm going to make £400 in profit. Well, that's just not happened. Let me read through some of these numbers. So option one is they go, I'm making £400 a month. And it's like, okay, now let's actually look at that. Well, have you put in anything for management, which is going to be 10% plus VAT, which is 1,440 a year or 120 a month? No, I haven't. So it's not 400. Now we're at 280. Still great though. What about anything for maintenance and repairs? Maybe you want to factor in 10%. That's another £100 a month. What about any compliance that you need involved in this? £42 a month. What about if there are any voids? Now, I'm not saying you need to go over the top, because very quickly you can take it off and take it off and take it off. So for example, with this, we're taking off 100 and 33 and 120 and 42, which adds up to £295 a month in hidden costs. So we're not making 400 a month, we're making 105 a month. And by the way, that could still be an amazing deal. And I might be being a little bit over the top with all of the numbers I've said there. It's really to illustrate the purpose that actually, when we're looking at all of this holistically, we really want to make sure that we're looking holistically at the whole deal. People get so obsessed with cash flow, for example, that they think that's what really makes them wealth in property, but it's absolutely not. You need to be looking at the ROCE, the return on capital employed, to make an informed decision. And that's going to take account of your personal situation, invest in your cash flow, predicted cash flow increases, and predicted capital growth based on the information and statistics made available to you. It's not that a good deal always becomes a shit deal, for example. That's just not the reality. But however, what we're really looking at is making an informed decision. That deal that was suddenly £105 could still be an amazing investment, but you need to be informed. It's that the investor who only looked at the mortgage versus the rent, they're making a huge amount of profit, right? £400. Where in reality, they're really making £105. That's not terrible, but we want to make sure we're getting accurate data. By the way, people make mistakes. We do still. We've been investing over 1,000 deals over 10 years, but you want to do as much as you can up front. So at Aspire Portfolio, we've scaled a lot for ourselves and our investors. As I say, we've done over 1,000 buy-to-let investments now, but we want to make sure we've got the data correct from the first place. So we've got in-house analyzers. We get it verified externally, get valuations on it. So we're looking at all of these things to make sure it hits criteria. And the impact of that is our investors, on average, are able to double over 5 years and triple their investment over a 10-year period, which almost sounds crazy, right? But if you've got 100 grand, we can do it in something as safe as houses, bricks and mortar, tangible, solid investments can triple your investment over a 10-year period. And we've got evidence. We've been going over 10 years. We have tripled every single investment that we've backdated and analysed over that 10-year period. And then we're going to release that analysis every single year so you can see the 10-year traction as goes forward, which I'm really excited by. If I'm honest, it's taken us a lot of time to get to our level. 10 years, in fact, hundreds of thousands of mistakes over that time. And to get those 1,000 properties, we have viewed thousands. We have offered on tens of thousands and had hundreds of thousands of conversations over those 10 years to end up getting this skill. Not only that, we've had to develop the network. So the reason I'm saying that is don't feel ashamed if you're somebody that is struggling to do all of this yourself. Obviously, it's more to it. You have to find the deal, which if they're through estate agents isn't going to be the best deals. You need to get direct to vendor. You need to have loads of conversations. You need to face rejection. You need to do a load of viewings. You need to get them priced up. You need to negotiate. Then you need to get a good lawyer in place, a good finance team in place to get your mortgages. Then you get it completed. You need to get your refurbishment done and make sure it's done on time, on budget, and dare I say it, on time, which is difficult for most people. And then get a great local management agent to do everything. And by the way, this is doable, it's viable, it's what I've done for years. But when you've got the team around you, it really helps you accelerate that journey. So I hope for those people going out and doing it on your own, this has been informing for you to make sure you're checking, make sure you create a checklist from that. For those of you that are listening, just gone, I'd rather just somebody else do it. That is what my portfolio building company does. And by the way, their number one client is me. I am actually, myself and Dan, my business partner, we are the investors that buy the most properties through Aspire Portfolio in the same areas, same criteria as you. And we try to buy 5 every single month. and it's hands-free for us. It allows me to do these YouTube videos and focus on my business. And maybe you want to invest your money so you can focus on doing the thing that's actually made you the money in the first place, whilst we take care of everything else. So if you've got the funds to invest, we typically work with people with 100K or more to scale your portfolio completely hands-free. I've put a link in the description, click on there, and what we've opened up is some free one-to-one strategy sessions. If that sounds like fun for you to find out where you're at, where you want to get to, and give you that guidance, and maybe we can help you build that portfolio, put portfolio in the comments, and I'll DM you one personally, and I'll look forward to that one-to-one session between you and one of my team. I hope this has been valuable. If it has added some value to you, make sure to hit that like button, and if you're not subscribed yet, you know what to do.